Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I'm going to walk my happy butt over to the futon to check out the Shudder original, Getaway. So what's the plot of this movie? Well, it tells the story of a family who decide to go on a weekend getaway. They end up at a remote island, and when you know it, there's a pesky psychopath killing folks on this island, and they were not aware of that. This is a horror comedy that is written and starring Nick Frost. It's directed by Stefan Harrs. This film looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. To be perfectly honest, I have been looking forward to this movie as soon as I heard about it. It did have a little bit of a theatrical release here in the States from what I understand, but I believe it was like one of those weekend only or one night affair type things. Needless to say, I unfortunately missed this film when it was in theaters, so I was really happy to find out that it was a Shudder original and it was coming to streaming. So you know what, guys? Good old Haku is already patiently waiting on me. And I know I'm enjoying the old cup of coffee today and not the brewski. That's because I decided to wake up a bit early in the morning for this one to check this film out. So it's not quite beer o'clock. It's more like coffee o'clock, if you know what I mean. Alright guys, well, it's enough of me sitting here jibber jabbering on. It's time for me to head over to the futon because I need to check out Getaway. Just getting done watching Getaway, and guys, I enjoyed this movie, but there's some things I want to talk about. So let's get this started, shall we? We're going to get started with negatives, then move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, one of the only things I really feel this movie gets wrong is it tries to do way too much in a small amount of time. Now, normally I applaud a film for a short runtime, but unfortunately, in this film's case, it just seems like they have way too many things going on for its short runtime. And what happens is it takes away from the character development and the world building, especially the character development. Because where this movie shines is with the family, with the four main characters. And we don't really get to spend enough time with them to really get to understand them and know who they are. The movie then goes into other territory. Now, you might have thought from the plot synopsis that I gave you guys about this film, this is a fairly basic, straightforward type of storyline. Family wants to get away for the weekend, they go to this secluded island, and there's a psychopath killer on the run. And that is true. That's one of the things that's going on in this film. Well, it's also a secluded island. In this secluded island, they throw in, some folk horror, some culty type of vibes into it, so there's that going on. And there's also an investigation with this whole slasher that's going on. And unfortunately, with so much happening, it takes away from the characters and the world that all of this is happening in. And so when you finally get to the big payoff, it doesn't quite hit as hard as it could have if we would have had just a little bit more time with the family for them to really flesh out the characters. Now, that being said, I did have a blast with this film. I did have a lot of fun. So let's move into the positives. The first thing I want to talk about is the acting in this movie. Every actor in this film knew exactly what was going on and what this film was all about. Each one of these characters is almost a trope of whatever subgenre of horror they're representing. If they're representing something like folk or a culty type vibe, every one of the members of this community has played their part to the T. There's also those slasher moments where you have something like Friday the 13th, where the people who are going to the area where the killer is are warned over and over again that this is a really bad idea and you shouldn't go. And then they, of course, just keep pushing on through and making those stupid slasher movie decisions. So there's a lot of real fun that's going on in this film, and everyone plays their part to a T. As I said, this movie does explode into a fit of chaos, and it is one of absolute gory blood and violence. Honestly, if you are someone who cannot take a lot of blood and gore, the last 30 minutes of this movie is going to probably be absolute hell for you. If you're someone who enjoys that kind of thing, you're going to have some real fun watching it, because there is a lot of really well done practical special effects that are at the very end of this movie, and it does, like I said, flow like a typical British horror film. Not that that's a bad thing. There's a lot of good stuff that happens in there. The jokes in this movie, for the most part, land. I did find myself chuckling out loud. There's some very odd, weird moments, but they all kind of blend together and finally make sense at the end, where you're just kind of creeped out by the certain behavior, and then finally I'm like, oh, okay. All right, that kind of makes sense now. I get it. So there's a lot of cool stuff that is definitely happening in this movie, but no offense to Nick Frost, you can tell that this was a first-time script. At least to the best of my knowledge, it's the first-time script, and he doesn't have accredited anyone. It was him. It was Nick Frost. But all in all, very solid, great performance out of him, and the material was very good. I did really enjoy this movie. So anyways, guys, this is right here in the States. It's on Shudder. I think it's on a different streaming service over in the UK, Sky Cloud or something like that, I believe. But here in the States, this is a Shudder original. So if you have a subscription to Shudder, I say definitely watch this film. This is a really fun little get-together with some friends kind of party movie, in my opinion. Blast was had. So anyways, guys, definitely check this movie out. If you're not a subscriber of Shudder, again, maybe do the old week-a-rooney. Check this film out if you do. Alright guys, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.